Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel, and today we're doing the actual rules video. I said before I'd done the unofficial one, which is kind of my battle video. I don't really go in depth with everything, it's just more me playing through the game. So, what I'll be doing in this is we've got two decks, which is how it will just lay out. This is how it will roughly look. I just thought I'll go over it. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible and try not to waffle too much. So, both players will start with a 30-card deck placed anywhere, it doesn't really matter. When I get the actual mat, which has not come yet, I will order it when I first move. But that will have the zones on it. We're still going to cover it anyway, because I feel like it's necessary to cover the zones. So how the game works is each player at the start of their turn will pick up 3 cards from the top of their deck. And this is essentially how the game will start. You can decide who goes first with a rock, paper, scissors, die roll, however you would do it normally. And then you would pick up your 3 cards, and this is always what will happen. So, I'll go over the structure of each turn. So you will have 2 phases, which is essentially just your phase where you play everything. So for example, in this hand, I have a card Dragon Egg, which I can send from my hand to the Necropolis to play a creature from my deck, which will do Skyguard Dragon. Now, that's a very simple play. I'll explain how it works when I'm not talking about each phase. And then what would happen is, say my opponent had, if we get a creature out here, we get out the trusty Battle Dolphin. And if my opponent has Battle Dolphin out, and I have this creature, which is Skyguard Dragon, it has a stronger base strength stat, which you can see here, the 2,700 versus 1,500 with Aqua Battle Dolphin, which will mean when I attack, his creature will get destroyed and sent to the Necropolis. Now, say I have another creature out, which I could with Fluffball, and this could then attack my opponent directly. Because they don't control any creatures, I could then attack them directly, and they will take 1 damage. Now, the way the damage works is your opponent will take the top card of their deck and place it in their damage drive. Now, I don't really have a name for it, but I'm going to call it the damage drive, which is very similar to Vanguard, so yeah, that's kind of annoying, but it works really well for this game, and that's how damage is dealt. So that's basically, and then after your battle phase, that is your turn done. You can't then go in and do anything else after you've done all your attacks. Your turn will end and it will become your opponent's turn. So say they've got their hand, they can make their play, so they just bring out a creature, play a card, attack into stuff, and then it will become my turn again. Now, on my turn, you start by refilling your hand to 3. So this would be for me drawing 2 cards, because you need to replenish your hand. Now, that's basically the phases covered. There's not really much else to say about them. Each creature will have a effect which can be used during your phase. If it says once per turn, that does not mean during your opponent's turn. It will only work during your turn, unless specified otherwise. Now, what this will mean is it basically means you need to look for cards that activate during both players' phases, similar to in Yu-Gi-Oh! With quick effects. It kind of works like that. So now we're going to move on to basically just the zones. So in Kosmic Kreatures, you can have up to 3 creatures out at a time, and 3 spell or snare cards face down at a time. Now what this means is it basically keeps the game kind of fast, I'd like to say, because you can play as many creatures as you want in a turn, you can do as many plays as you want from your hand. It's just unlimited. Because I don't want to limit it in a way. I'm basically just waffling. I'm sorry, this is not good. This is the first actual rule video, I'm just trying to talk over it. But yeah, so you'll have 3 creatures. These can be of any type, mark, or literally anything. And then 3 combination of spells or snares. Now, well, I've covered what snares do in my card type video. If you haven't seen it though, snares are essentially trap cards from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or instant cards from Magic, where they can be activated during your opponent's turn, but they are exclusive to your turn, which I know instant spells aren't in Magic, but yeah, we get the point. Now, This is because most of them will have battle effects for when your opponent attacks, but that's more with each individual card, so I won't go over that in this video. And spells can be activated when set, or in your hand if there is a free zone to play them to. Now, after a spell or snare is played and its effect is resolved, it will go to the Necropolis, which it will be either above your deck or wherever you're putting it. And in the Necropolis, it essentially just sits there. It's the graveyard from Yu-Gi-Oh!, the drop zones from other games. It will just sit there and basically just be a dead resource unless your deck plays with that. We'll go into concepts of that in future videos. And other than that, the only zones are, like I said, the damage drive, which we'll fill up over here with some damage. The opponent might dealt us. The creature zones, and the snare zones. Well, spell and snare. And that's basically it. I've tried to keep the game with the way that the ruling works pretty simple. I don't know how vague it is. Let me know what you guys think down below. So this is basically what your boards will end up looking like late game, early game, mid game. You'll just have some creatures with maybe some spell or snares set. Or, for example, this card is an infinite, so it will stay up, face up permanently until I remove it from the field. But that's basically it in terms of the field. There's not really much to cover with that. The only other thing in terms of the field I can think of is you can't, well, obviously you can't play more than 3 creatures. The Necropolis, once it's there, it's basically gone, and the damage drive is how you take your damage. Now, in terms of the actual rules, I haven't really explained how the damage works. Once you get to 9 damage, you will lose the game. The first person to make your opponent take 9 damage wins. And that creates like a very interesting, fast-paced game, in my opinion. Because from testing it, when you kill creatures, they usually die, and then you will get 2 damage very quickly. And it will just continue to add up if your opponent can't defend it. And you can essentially build a board pretty quick, which I like. And there's not really much else to say, so honestly, the only other thing I can really think of saying would be going in depth with different effects, such as, for example, if we use Dragon Dire here, which has the effect of evolution, which basically means if it's in my Necropolis, I could send 2 creatures I control to then cast it directly from my Necropolis, and it would gain strength. But this is like, that's just an effect of a card. That's not really part of the ruling or the game. So if you want me to make a video on that, I will. But apart from that, there's not really much else. It's a very simplistic game in the basics of how it would work. It gets slightly more complicated with spells and snares and different plays you can make. But if you've played a lot of card games before, it is very simple. But yeah, that's basically it for today's video. I just wanted to make a quick video on the rules because I basically just saw some other people do it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think, if you're excited for the game. Obviously, like I said, it's going to be released soon. If you want any promo cards, packs, anything like that, the printouts, just send any inquiries to my email, once again, in the description below. And yeah, that's basically it for today's video, so I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. So one thing I didn't mention in the video is that snares can only be played after the turn they are set onto the field, and they have to be set before they can be played, which basically means in their hand they have to go face down on the field before they can be used. And spells cannot be played during your opponent's turn unless they are an instant, which, for example, this card is not, so it can only be played during my turn. That's just a quick thing I forgot, and I don't want people to misunderstand that, and it's something I wanted to just clarify real quick.